Hey there, welcome back. So moving on from Microsoft Copilot, and we have seen its usage, how to set it up, and then we have seen what all the features of Copilot, how it can generate test cases for you, how it can write a requirements document, or how it can automate different workflows, or you can even build your own AI agents using the Copilot. But now we are changing the tools a little bit. So we are moving to GitHub Copilot now, and we'll see how we can unlock AI superpowers inside the Visual Studio, which is deeply integrated with GitHub Copilot. And we'll also see how we can use MCP. Now, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. And if you have not heard, it's a buzzword in AI assistant development. And it's basically changing how AI tools like Copilot can talk or can interact with different external tools inside Visual Studio Code. So let's talk more about MCP. As we know, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. And in layman terms, it's a universal protocol which defines how your AI tools can interact with external tools inside your dev environment. So think of it as a bridge between your dev environment and your AI tools inside VS Code. So no custom integrations, no plugins, just smarter automation. So we just follow a standard which is already defined. It's pretty similar to how APIs are defined, right? So there is a standard which you follow in order to define or create your APIs, and then how to connect to those APIs. So similarly, you have got this standard, which is MCP, and then you can let your AI assistant use the standard to talk to different external tools inside VS Code. Now, why it matters? Copilot or any other AI tool is fantastic, right? It is a great tool, but with MCP, it becomes a full-blown workflow engine. So if you need to list all the GitHub issues, or you need to create a database query, or you need to read a config file, just tell Copilot and it will do it. So it's basically extending the Copilot capabilities beyond just code suggestions. It can automate tasks like reading your files from your file system, or managing your GitHub issues, or even querying the databases. So you don't need to hard code any integrations. You just need to plug in a MCP server, and then all the tasks can be automated using the GitHub Copilot. So let's understand how it works. Well, the first step where VS Code connects to a particular MCP server, and that MCP server will expose a number of different tools like reading a file, creating a pull request, or querying a database. So once these tools are exposed, the AI can invoke any of these tools to perform a particular operation. And that will be based on the prompt which you provide. So it's pretty simple, powerful, and it's very scalable. So now that we have briefly talked about MCP, how it works, and what are its usage, right? Let's talk about how we can set it up. So we need three things. We need VS Code, we need Copilot, and then we need MCP server, right? So basically, we need to install the VS Code. We need to enable the Copilot with a proper license, and then we need to configure our MCP settings and get started with all the AI superpowers which you need in order to automate your development or testing workflows. So let's get started. Let's see how we can get all this together in order to create a proper environment where GitHub Copilot can use the MCP to automate different workflows. So let's continue with our setup. And here, the first step is to set up a Visual Studio Code if you have not already done so. It's a pretty simple setup. If you go to this particular URL, which is code.visualstudio.com, and you go to downloads, you will find the download for your particular operating system. In my case, it is Mac OS, and then it will start downloading a particular zip file. So I've already done that, and it will be saved in your downloads folder. So it's a zip file. and you can open it with any particular zip utility. So basically unzip that file, and then you should get your own Visual Studio Code. So you can double click on it to open it. So it should verify it, and then so this is how your Visual Studio Code will look like. Now it might show some recommendations to install some extensions and plugins, so go ahead and do that. Now the next step is to configure or set up your GitHub Copilot. Now if you have installed the latest version of Visual Studio Code, then the GitHub Copilot is already set up and ready to use for you inside the Visual Studio Code. So if you go into the right bottom, you will see a small GitHub Copilot window where you can sign in into your GitHub Copilot. Now for that, either you can use the free GitHub Copilot account, or you can even have a paid account. So basically with a proper license to use the Copilot. So for the first time, you need to sign in into your GitHub Copilot. So if you click on that, it should bring you to this particular window where you can either sign in with your Google account, or you can sign in with your GitHub account. So let's try to log in with the GitHub account. So here you can see I can authorize the Visual Studio Code to access my GitHub account, which is already signed in. So I'll click on continue, and you will see it will try to authorize the GitHub account, which has got the Copilot to the Visual Studio Code. So I'll say authorize, and then it will directly try to open Visual Studio Code right from here. Once it does, you will see the GitHub Copilot. So here you can see the usage, the code completions, and the chat messages. Now, there is a limit to all of this based on the type of account you have. If you've got a free account, then there is a limited usage. If you have got a licensed account, then you will have more usage. So that's basically the difference. So once you have got the Copilot working, you will see a chat window here where you can build with the AI agent. Now, the next and the last step is to configure our MCP server, which is the Model Context Protocol inside Visual Studio Code. Now, if you have installed the latest version of Visual Studio Code, then MCP server is already set up for you. If you go on the left-hand side, you will see the last option, which is extensions. And inside the extensions, then the third option is the MCP servers. So here we can browse all the MCP servers, and then we can install the MCP server which we need. So here I can click on browse MCP servers, and from there it will take me to a page where it will list down all the MCP servers which are available for Visual Studio Code. So as you can see, there are a couple of them. We are going to look at one of them later on, which is a Playwright MCP server, which helps us to automate a web browser. Now, apart from that, there are others like Figma, there is Wiki, there is Microsoft Docs, there is Context 7, there's also GitHub. So if you want, we can install the GitHub MCP server. Okay, and once we do this, so we can install it from here. And we will authorize again the Visual Studio Code. So it will basically access all the repositories inside your GitHub repository. And once you authorize that, the MCP server will now have access to all your GitHub repository and your issues and everything, right? So it can access everything, and then using the GitHub Copilot, you can basically interact with your GitHub repositories and do all kinds of GitHub actions right from Visual Studio Code. So that's one example of how you can use the MCP server. Now, once you do that, you can also look at the settings for this MCP server. So here, there are a couple of options. Now our server is already running, but you can stop and restart the server. You can disconnect the account. You can show the configuration. So every MCP server will have a configuration inside the Visual Studio Code. So if I say show configuration, you will see this is the name, this is the type, and this is the URL. Now, the other thing which we can also see inside the AI chat window, so we need to change the mode to agent. Okay, so there are two other modes, ask and edit. And then we have got different AI LLM models which we can choose from. Okay, so this is the offering of GitHub Copilot. It connects to different LLMs. So we can choose our own model here. And then we can also look at all the different tools which are available to us. Okay, so there are some built-in MCP tools here, as you can see, which is already selected. And then we have also got our own MCP server, which we have connected, which is GitHub. So inside GitHub, you can see we can do all these activities using these different tools which are provided by GitHub. So our AI agent can connect to all these tools and it can perform different operations like adding issues, creating a branch, or you can also get a commit, you can do a commit, you can get the list. So all the GitHub actions you can perform right from here. Similarly, in the built-in, you can interact with your file system, right? So you can edit your files in your workspace. You can create new files. So if you enable all this, the AI tool can basically perform all these different operations. So let's see a very simple example of how MCP server will help you to interact with your AI tools, right? So here in the AI chat, if I say list my GitHub issues, okay, so you will see it will automatically select a particular tool which can help it to get all the GitHub issues from the repository. So it will try to connect to the GitHub repository and it will try to get all the issues which are present there. It may not get it for my particular repository because I may not have any GitHub issues, but let's see. Okay, so as you can see here, it ran the search issues on the MCP server on the GitHub repository. So this is the input and this is the output. There, it is telling me that there are no open GitHub issues right now. Okay, so let's try another one. List my GitHub repositories. And here you can see it has listed down all my GitHub repositories. It first ran the user profile using one of the tools through MCP server. And then it ran the search repositories. It found all the repositories. And here are my repositories. It has got 3 repositories right now. So this is how you can perform all the different operations related to your GitHub repository using the different tools which are provided by the GitHub MCP server. Now, this is just one example. Like this, you can use any particular MCP server to connect your AI agent to different tools, which can then work with all those tools and get you all the results from any particular source. So it could be a database, it could be a web page, or it could be any resource, right? So anything which you want to work with, you just need to connect the MCP server, which is available. And we can also create our own MCP server.
So that's all for this particular video. Coming up next, we'll see how to generate Playwright automation scripts with AI tools using the MCP server inside VS Code and the GitHub Copilot. So if you like these videos, please subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss out on other upcoming videos. Let me know in the comments how you get along with setting up MCP server and using it for your automation. Thanks for watching, and I will speak to you in our next video.